Hi guys, this is Jake at Canadian Cutting Edge, and today we're taking a look at the Mora Eldris. My version has the neck knife kit included. You can buy it with or without. The without version looks like what you see on this side of my hand. None of this stuff. You get the sheath and the knife, and that's it. And then with the neck knife, you get all of this other stuff here. You get this, let's pull this through again. Ta-da-da-da-da-da. You get this loop that secures over. I'll show you that. You get the paracord, you get a ferro rod, and it's a neck knife. I just finished watching the review of this knife by Wrangler Star. He's a homesteader in, I think it's Oregon, and I've watched his channel for years. And he often has a lot of good things to say, but some of the stuff that he got about the Mora Eldris was a little bit off. He does end up liking the knife, and he's pro Mora Eldris. He's pro Mora to start with. And, so I'm not upset with him. It just seems kind of funny when you see somebody who's not really a knife guy do a knife review. I saw him do an interview with Gerber once. And so he's talking to Gerber about, the knives and stuff. And very clear that, he just isn't a knife guy. That's no diss on him. It's just for a non-knife guy to do a knife review. That's sort of like me doing a review about farm equipment. I've worked on farms. I've been on farms. I know how to do a lot of farming tasks. I ain't a farmer. It's just the way it is. So I'd like to give you a more thorough review of the Mora Eldris and give you my perspective on what I like, what I don't like, what's good, what's maybe not so good. That list, frankly, is going to be very short. And talk to you about this knife. I think this knife has overwhelmed Mora a little bit. I think it's doing a whole lot better than they ever expected it to. And if you do not have one of these knives, you probably should consider it, especially if you do any outdoors kind of stuff. If you're a bit of an outdoors kind of guy, if you're anything of a prepper, you should consider this. And, a whole bunch of different people, I think, would do well considering the Mora Eldris. So if you're interested at all, and even if you're not, stick around for the full review of the Mora Eldris coming at you right now. I really wish I was back at home with my home lighting, but since I'm visiting my mother, this is what we have. So the lighting's not the best, but we'll do the best we can with what we have. Here we've got the Mora knife logo, 1891, Mora knife, the knife itself. So the sheath works really great. It's ambidextrous. You see this little triangle diamond shape right there. It's on both sides. You see a tiny little mark in here. I'm not sure if the light's coming in properly, but there's a little mark right there, and it kind of just seats in that spot. It's right opposite this little dimple here, and that holds it. It's not going to fall out. You can shake this thing as hard as you want. It is not going to come loose. It's not going to fall out. And yet, Mora still provides extra security with this piece, so that when you're wearing the neck knife kit, you've got double security, and it works very well. Wrangler Star kind of balks at this thing, and he says, wonders why it's here, because when it's over the knife, what happens if this comes off to the side? Well, to be honest with you, it's not that easy for this to come off to the side. He of course can push it over and make it look easy, but it actually takes a fair bit of force to push that off to the side. So it does do a fair bit of difference. It makes a fair bit of difference, I should say. A very good snap. Mora knife doesn't do anything on the cheap. This is good stuff. Holds it very securely. I say this is a good decision. That's the first thing that I balk at what Wrangler Star had to say. This is indeed a nice touch. He thinks it's just the security guys, the safety police going overboard. I don't think so, because while it does hold very securely if you have this all the way in, what happens if you didn't push it all the way in? If you didn't push it all the way in, there's added security. I like security. Having things secure is really good. Is it for dangerous reasons? No. I don't want to lose my knife. That's why I like this. I'm not worried about it falling and landing on my toe because, this end is heavier. It is going to probably fall in that orientation, or this is going to hit first. So I'm not afraid of it coming down and stabbing me in the foot. I'm afraid of losing it in the bush or something maybe, So this is added security for not losing it. So there's the first thing that I really like about this. Good stuff. One of the next things that he balks at is with this neck knife kit is this cordage. And for that point, I think he's very right. 550 paracord, which that's probably what they've used here. You get this around your neck, you jump down from somewhere, you get this caught, this is around your neck. Yeah, it'll hang you and you'll die from it. And that's why as soon as they come in, I'm switching out this and I'm putting in a breakaway clip. I've ordered some paracord breakaway clips specifically for neck knives, and I'm creating some of my own neck knife kits, and it's very inexpensive to buy breakaway snaps, and you'll see that in a future video as soon as I'm back in Ontario, because that's where as soon as I'm back in Alberta, because that's where I've shipped them to, you'll be able to see how that works, and that's how I'm going to wear this. Mora has this little leather piece on it. This piece is genuine leather. It says Mora Knife or Mora Niv, K-N-I-V. And then you've got the ferro rod, and I've not yet struck this rod. We'll do that outside. I'll have that part of the video to show you that. It's a decent length, and with some cordage on it like that, you can, wrap it around your finger and hold it quite secure and then strike it. So that's a good thing. So we've talked about all of those things. Let's talk about the material of this plastic. It's a nice polypropylene, very secure. Drainage holes if you, put it on your belt. That's the other thing that this is good for. You can put this through your belt. Assume these fingers are my belt. You put it in this way and you snap it over. It's not going to work on a very thick belt, but you can clearly see that you can get a belt through there. There's some daylight you can get through there. So you could carry this thing on your belt if you'd like to, or you could use this to snap it over some molly. So let's say you've got some molly banding. You push this beneath it. It just gives you so many 101 different ways. Well, maybe not literally 101. It's, a metaphor. You got so many different ways that you can use this if you get the neck knife with it, the neck knife kit. And in a lot of places, you might be able to find the neck knife kit for free. If you have to pay extra for the neck knife kit, I'm not so sure if it's worth it or not. That's something that's up to you depending on how you're going to use it. If you think you're going to use the neck knife kit, hey, it's worth it. If you're not going to use the neck knife kit, hey, it's not worth it. It's really that simple. And I think I'm going to use it an awful lot. I used it already when I went to Jasper National Park. Unfortunately, we had forest fires in the province next door, BC, just west of where we were. Smoke came all over our site. And our campsite, the whole area of Jasper, the first 2 days were quite good, as you saw on my video about that Schrade knife, the SCHF 40LD. And then, the third day we came, everything was smoked out, and we couldn't even see the tops of the mountains that were right next to us. Like if we were in a valley, we couldn't see the tops of the mountains around us. It got that bad because of the smoke. So that's why you won't see a lot of footage of this knife in Jasper. Let me put this aside now. Here's just the main knife itself. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So there you go. Here's the knife, and I like this thing an awful lot. You've got this checker pattern here. That's hard polypropylene plastic. And then you see this blue area here with this fine texture. That's all sort of TPE texture. So it's nice and soft. So it's very grippy. And I've got large hands that border on extra large. And check this out. When I go to grab it, this fits in my hand. I put it in my hand and I close it over. A little bit of blue right there. It just fits. And my hands are big. They're not in the extra large category, but just barely missing it. So 9 or 10 in the European size. And the great thing about this knife is because of how thick it is and Everything's nice and rounded and smooth. It is very, very comfortable in hand. I'm loving it an awful lot. And so what do we have? Let's talk about some of the specs. Sandvik steel, 12C27, 2 millimeters thick. Wait, let's slow down. Already talked about the handle material. Clip point, and it's pretty much all belly. It's still rounding, and it's barely starting to flatten out right there. And then they've taken off a little bit of the steel here, so the Scandi grind has been reduced. So it's really good for skinning small animals or whatever, nice and thin, that they've taken away some of that steel. Great, great little grind. And let's talk about all the different little specs on the sizes and everything. We've got a cutting edge, comes right to the handle, of 5.9 centimeters, which is 2.125 inches. The blade thickness is 2 millimeters, which is 0.08 inches. I'm not giving you a thickness behind the grind because it's Scandi grind, and then with this relief, I guess I could give you the behind the grind thickness for this relieved section, but I'm not going to because I didn't bring my vernier calipers, and so I can't do those very precise measurements. And there is no behind the grind measurement on a Scandi grind anyway, because it's a grind that should come straight to the edge all the way down. And so it would be 2 millimeters. The thickness behind the grind would be the thickness of the steel. The handle length, 8.9 centimeters, which is 3.5 inches. So the grip area, I call it basically the same. It's a little bit shorter if you leave it behind here, probably closer to 8.5 centimeters and 3.3 inches, something like that. The total length of the knife, 14.3 centimeters, 5.625 inches. It weighs 2.15 ounces. In grams, actually, I don't have the grams written down. You'll see it on the screen right here, the grams. And you can buy this knife in the United States of America for around $22.50 to $25, depending on the color, at Amazon. And if you want to get the neck knife kit, you're looking at about $40 for the knife and the neck knife, around $40. So it's almost doubling the cost to get the neck knife kit. If you can find it someplace with a neck knife kit, do it. It's going to be even less. And I hope I can find links and put them into the description below for prices that are even less than what I'm quoting to you in the video, because I'm going to do a whole lot more research and find some better prices. So if you want to buy this, please look straight down here. If you're on a PC, below the video, it'll say show more. Click on that and you'll see all the links that I'll have provided for how to buy this. Canadian prices, I'll have links for that too. There's a website called Bushcraft Canada. They've got the best price that I could find in Canada for just the knife, $39 Canadian. Blades Canada, also known as Warriors and Wonders, they've got the best price for the blade with the neck knife kit at about $64.99, so $65 Canadian. So there you go. That's all of that stuff. Now let's get to what I really think of this knife. I've already talked about some of that. This knife, genius. That's what I'm saying about this knife. Mora, this is genius. Just take a think. Think about how you use your bushcraft knives. I think if you're like me, you use that front edge, the belly part, a lot. And if this knife was really long, you use that last inch a lot as well. And that section in between, you probably use that occasionally, if you're at all like me. This knife does away with that occasionally used section and just shrinks it down and uses the part that you use the most and the other part that you use the most, which is, close to the tip and close to the handle. It's just genius. Most of us use those two zones the most, and so Mora just did away with the middle section, gave a nice, robust, large handle, and said, here you go, guys. Here's a knife for you to play with, but I bet you'll be able to do more than play. You'll be able to work with this knife. And I totally agree. This is a knife that any bushcrafter would be proud to have in his bag, in his spare bag, maybe even as his main knife for, most of the day around the camp. You know, you're not going to be doing batoning and stuff like that, but all of your small tasks, you can even strike a ferro rod, all of that stuff you can do with this knife and do it easily. It comes very sharp. I've used this knife. I've used it in Jasper. I've used it all over the place. I've done nothing to the blade. I've not stropped it. I've done nothing. You know, in that push cut, you can just cut all day long and play with the paper and just enjoy the knife. It's a great little edge. Sandvik steel is wonderful, and they've done a really good job with it. And then the clip point here, nice tip. It's a good knife. And that 90-degree edge there, you can strike a ferro rod, no problem. So I'm not going to actually start to light a fire here, but suffice to say, you saw those sparks. This thing works quite well. I really like this knife. I think Wrangler Star is a little bit wet about the neck knife kit. I think the neck knife kit is very good, very useful, very handy, and not as weird as he thinks it is. Okay, well, here we've got some cardboard. And very easy to cut cardboard with this thing. Keeps the edge really, really well. Hopefully I can get some paper and show you how clean that still cuts. But look at the nail nick test. It grabs and won't go. You can see a little bit on my nail that stops. Very, very good knife. After that cardboard, we still have some newsprint handy. So let's grab a sheet of that. Might be a little tricky with the wind. It's cutting very well. Check that out. Paper wants to fly all over the place. I wish I could do this without wind around. Nice, very clean lines cutting, and that's after it's done a bunch of cardboard, after I've used it for, I don't know, how long have I used this thing? I've used it for a week and a half in the bush. I've used it for another week doing some other stuff just around the house. I am very, very happy with this knife. I've used it a lot. It's comfortable, feels good, looks good. My favorite budget fixed blade for the summer of 2017, hands down. So this knife, what are the pros? The pros are the size, the weight, easy to carry, very functional, great tip, nice belly, very functional in terms of the vast majority of your tasks, good ferro rod. The cons with this knife, to be honest with you, I still think I wish it would be about ½ an inch longer. That's about 1.5 centimeters longer. Just that little bit more would give me a little bit longer of a flat area right here. And I think I would like that an awful lot. Am I being nitpicky? Probably. But hey, you got to share your honest feelings when you're a reviewer. And so that's how I feel about that. Fit and finish, very good. As good as any other Mora. Moras are never having perfect fit and finish. Like here's a little bit of plastic on this handle that didn't get cleaned up perfectly. But because they put a ferro rod in with the kit, they did polish up the edge and give a good 90-degree edge here on the spine. So that's good. I wouldn't mind if this blade was a tiny bit thicker as well, but it's good. It's strong enough the way it is because it's short. I haven't taken a rare earth magnet to find out exactly how far back the steel goes, but it doesn't really have to go back very far because there's not an awful lot of leverage pulling it, when you're cutting up here. So that's good. This thing comes in, I think, 5 or 6 different colors. That's really a big plus. You can get the color that you want, suits your styling. You can get them in a couple bright colors so that it'd be very hard to lose in the woods. Like this blue would be hard to lose. Blue is not a common color out in the woods, and so that's a really good thing. The cons for this knife, man, I can't think of any. One. And the one is the same thing that Wrangler Star keyed in on, and I wish they would have put a breakaway clasp on the cordage right here. They cost just as much or just as little as these kind of clasps. So why not put on a breakaway clasp? And not only would that satisfy all the safety police, it actually would genuinely be safer. So there you go. That's my review, my perspective of this Mora knife. If you don't have one, consider getting one. If you have one, tell me in the comments below what you think of it. Tell me, all your perspective, your feelings. Please share your comments, your questions, any concerns you have in the comment section below. I really like that. Interacting with the comment section is one of my favorite things to do. Thanks so much for watching, liking, subscribing, sharing, all that good stuff. And before you leave, give me a thumbs up, will you? I could use it. And remember, always cut towards your chum and not your thumb.